Apiaries. Because it's an apiary that they're in.
Great.
Yeah, most people just say beekeeper. But of course you can't, you know, have that, you never get that many letters in Scrabble, so. Or I heard a good word the other day, hydrozoochory. That's a good one. It's basically when waterfowl take seeds and the seeds somehow get stuck to their feathers and then they fly away and those seeds then are deposited somewhere else and start growing. So hydrozoochory. Good word, right? Yes. It's kind of hard to fit into your normal everyday conversations.
We're going to work on it.
Yes.
Bovine for about a month.
Ooh, that's good. But all my hives are local. They're in South Holden, Oregon. So right now I have about 44 hives and doing a bee removal job tomorrow, so I'll have 46 after that. But the bees are doing quite well, especially with the black locust that's been blooming. And now that that's waning down, the clover and honeysuckle is coming out, so they're starting to nosh on that. But it's just amazing to go into a bee yard and just looking at their legs to see what color pollen they're bringing in, and then you can figure out what's blooming. And just looking at the frames of honey and pollen itself, because the different pollens are different colors, it looks like a kaleidoscope in there. Especially when American redbud is blooming, it has a beautiful red pollen to it. So my honey is raw and unfiltered, so it has all the local pollen in it, and then since it's raw, it's not heated above 110 degrees, so all the good enzymes are still in there and they're not denatured. So,
how did you get into this?
97, and woke up one day and thought, wow, it'd be really cool to beekeep. So I started reading about bees, and I realized that the bees aren't reading the books. So I started apprenticing with other beekeepers and learned the real way of doing things, you know. And so between the two, it's just kind of taken off, and it's really, really relaxing. It's kind of like doing yoga, you know. Just kind of zen state, because everything has to leave your head, because if it doesn't and you're distracted, the bees realize it and they're not as nice. You just don't have a command of the hive as much.
Oh, so you have to be like a pack leader.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, the queen is definitely the pack leader, and it's really it's really sad actually. When a hive doesn't have a queen, they act very lost. When you open a hive, you can tell immediately. Because they look like they're on caffeine. They're very, very jittery when they walk around. But if they do have a queen, you pick up the frame and you look at them, they want nothing to do with you because they're busy working for their queen. And she gives off a pheromone that then, you know, relaxes all of them. And once that pheromone is gone, then they immediately go into that frenzied mode. They start raising emergency queens because they just want to have that you know, all-knowing around. So. Oh yeah, and all the worker bees are female too, so it's just fascinating to me, you know, and the males are interesting too, don't get me wrong. It's actually against the law in New York State to kill honeybees, and so I do my best to find the queen. I put her in a little cage, and then the rest of the bees I take out and, you know, nicely take the comb out and then put it into a conventional hive. It's so much fun. And you never know what's fully in that wall until you open it, you know? Yeah. So you carve out 2 days just in case it takes you that long. But typically it'll just take a very long day.
Now typically the honey that you harvest, that comes off of the honeycomb?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what this is all from.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so out of a 20. From other countries don't have the same standards as we do. Like, I don't use any pesticides in my hives. To me, if a hive is sick, it shouldn't be in your population anymore. In other countries, they are allowed to use pesticides that we aren't allowed in the United States, and so that then sometimes could get into your honey. And so there have been problems where honey from China has been shipped to the United States and has been turned back by customs because the pesticide levels are too high. And now they're also, China's selling their honey to Argentina, and then that's coming into the US. So it's really important to get at least United States honey, but then best of all local honey, because not only are you eating local honey, but those bees are pollinating your local crops and your local trees in your open space. I mean, it just helps overall.
It also helps with your
Yes, Yes.
And your apiary is...
Of the whole North Fork. I live in an apartment now, and my hives are all on private property. So it's really kind of neat how there's this groundswell of effort along with me, and I don't know, it's fun.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. Laura Bavaro.
Laura Bavaro?
Yes.
And Laura, you harvest bees?
I work the bees. They do well on their own. I work them about every other week just to make sure that they're doing okay and don't need more supers, or that they're just feeling okay, and
that's fantastic.
Works out great.
Oh wait, that's something else. Well, good luck with everything.
Thank you very much.
You bet. We'll see you soon.
Great. Bubbles into the wildflower nectar that's in the honeycomb, and by blowing bubbles into it, they're reducing the water content down to 18%. Because when the wildflower nectar first comes in, it's at 85%. Wow! So they are concentrating. Right, exactly. Honey is basically concentrated wildflower nectar. So at 18%, they cap it over with beeswax, and then I know it's honey ready to harvest.
So they just instinctively know by their bubble blowing.
Yeah. And the great thing about honey is that it never goes bad. You can have it 500 years from now, and it just crystallizes. And when it crystallizes, you just put it in a warm water bath or a warm oven, and it'll fire it up again. And it's all raw and unfiltered, so it has that local pollen that everybody's looking for allergies. And after you harvest, and the great thing about beeswax candles is they burn about 5 times longer than regular candles, and it's much cleaner, brighter flame. It doesn't have that sootiness. Actually, M&M's are covered in beeswax, and that's why they don't melt in your hands.
I never knew that.
Oh, this is cool. So you bring this with you just on the road? And
Yeah. This is just a small observation hive. There are probably about 4,000 to 5,000 bees in here. And you're looking at all the female worker bees. And what they're doing is they're taking the honey and blowing bubbles into it. They're taking the wildflower nectar and blowing bubbles into it to reduce the water content down to 18%. Once it's at 18%, they'll cap it over like they did over here with beeswax. Because they have a little gland on their chest that makes beeswax shingles. So they'll cap it over, and then I know that it's ripe honey and ready to harvest.
That is so cool.
Oh yeah, and look at them even down here. This is called festooning, when they hang down like that. So they're basically creating a ladder for others to walk up and down on.
That is something else right there.
Yeah. So there's about 5 frames down here. And so they're making it so then it'll be easier for the bees to move from the top to the bottom. And these are all the females.
Very interesting.
Oh yeah.
So fantastic. Well, thank you.
I do love them.
Very much, Laura. That's out of
Thank
sight.
you.
Okay.